Hi there, and welcome to My Opinion Matters. My name is Andrew Zettel, and today we're going to be talking about Oprah 2020. Is she going to run for president? Do celebrities even make good presidents? We'll also be looking at the best places to eat in Waterloo, and we'll be talking about the Canada Summer Jobs Grant Program and the changes that the Trudeau government recently made. But first, I want to introduce our panelists today on the show. Here with me is Charity, who's a third-year Peace and Conflict Studies and Business student. Alex is in second year Nanotechnology Engineering, and Ben is in his fifth year of Physics. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So we'll kick it right off with this article in the National Post about the Canada Summer Jobs Grant. All of the links to our articles are in the description below. Feel free to read along as we're going here. So essentially, the government has made a change to this long-running program that funds student jobs in the summer. And they've said that any organization that wants to receive this money has to sign this attestation. We'll put up on the screen here. The attestation says both the job and the organization's core mandate must respect individual human rights in Canada, including the values underlying the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as well as other rights. These include reproductive rights and the right to be free from discrimination on the basis of sex, religion, race, national or ethnic origin, color, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. And essentially, the main point of contention is around reproductive rights. There's already been a court challenge by the Toronto Right to Life group. Basically, they're saying, okay, this goes against our conscience rights. We don't want to be signing to receive the money. And yet the Trudeau government said, no, well, this is to support the rights of women. So I want to start with Alex. What do you think? How do you interpret this decision by the government?
Well, let's look at this policy for what it actually is. Absolute authoritarianism. This policy is making Canadians disavow their religious views or their personal conscience to receive government funding. This policy isn't protecting Canadians' rights, as the Trudeau government argues, but it's taking them away. How, you may ask? If any employer, whether it be something for political activism or pro-life activism or anything else, even if it's just an engineering job, say, if any employer wants to hire someone, they have to sign an attestation saying they agree with the Liberal Party's platform. And that's absolutely authoritarian. Canada has a great diversity of views on different issues. So what the Trudeau government's doing is forcing employers to give up their right or their freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, by forcing them to say they agree with the Liberal Party platform.
Okay. Now, I imagine that the Trudeau government sees these as fairly non-controversial. That's why they list them all together, free from discrimination on all of these criteria. Charity, do you think it's a worthwhile move by the government to try to protect these rights by denying funding to groups that may actually be trying to limit those rights?
I think it's a worthwhile in itself to, all those rights are very important to protect. Are they doing the best method of choosing to defund other programs and whatnot? I don't really think so. I think this is kind of...
Maybe it's a little heavy-handed?
Yeah. Because if you defund certain programs, they're obviously can't do their functionings and can't get their voice out, so it's silencing them as well. But I can also understand the government wanting to fund things that they value, but at the same time it's...
Yeah, the article even mentioned it ranges everything from pro-life activism to summer camps and soup kitchens and things that may be affected by this. Ben, what do you make of this whole issue?
Yeah, so I think my issue is the language they use, and they're very unclear on who can and cannot receive the funding. They say just that you have to have your core mandate doesn't interfere with these values. And I know the kind of outcry is that the values, and what's the distinction between your values and your core mandate of your group. And so I think that's just a messy situation that they've gotten themselves into because they haven't clarified where the line is drawn, haven't made it very clear legal language on what the distinction is there. So reading it, you don't know if because of my religious values, signing it is kind of against what I believe in, or can I isolate the core mandate of my group to this and exclude everything else, and then you're fine to receive that grant money. It's unclear language that should be kind of improved to clarify things.
Right. And so with all the potential lack of clarity and with the government seeming to go ahead with this change, what do we think? Do we think it's going to stick with voters? Do we think it's going to be something they'll be thinking about that might turn them away from the government or even towards the government, Charity?
I don't think it really will make much of a difference. The voters that would make them less inclined to vote for the Liberal government probably aren't anyways. So overall, probably not.
Alex, what do you think? Is this a losing point for the government?
I'd say so, because if you take a look at who has criticized this, everyone from conservative groups and pro-life groups to the NDP have criticized this. If you have the NDP criticizing you at the same time as the Conservative Party criticizing you, you know you've done something wrong. Because a lot of people, even if they're pro-choice, say, hey, look, this isn't right. You can't be giving funds for groups that do political activism and then only do it for groups that agree with the Liberal Party's platform. That's just wrong. I think a lot of people on the left as well as the right recognize that Canada is a great place where we have very much a diversity of viewpoints. So I think there's, of course, going to be greater issues that come up in the run-up to the 2019 election, but this incident will be one of many that turn off voters to the Trudeau government come 2019.
So not making much of a difference, might come up in 2019. Ben, what do you think?
I agree more with Charity. I don't think that this issue is going to stick with voters who would normally or would in other cases support the Trudeau government. If anything, they'll be turned off by other things that they have done wrong. So I think this will be a minor splash in kind of the effects of the Liberal support. So
Excellent. Awesome. Let us know what you think about this decision by the Liberal government in the comments section below. Let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more local. We're talking about the best places to eat in Waterloo. We want the opinion of our three panelists. Let's start with you, Charity. Where's your go-to place to grab a bite to eat?
I would definitely say Pub on King, because first of all, it's cheap. It's only $5.95 for anything on the menu. And then you can go there for like lunch, dinner, and then you can also go there at night, have some drinks, have some fun, dance. But the food's probably not the best, but I think everything else makes up for that.
It's a classic choice. And also, it's important to keep an eye on the student budget. Let's face it, right? Alex, your go-to place?
I'd say my go-to place is definitely Morty's Pub. Food, slightly higher quality than Pub on King, although I have to say, Pub on King prices, nothing can beat that. Fantastic chicken wings, especially if you get them on the night they're half off, and there's some great selection of beer there as well.
I think it's Thursday for
yeah, it's Thursday half-night wings. Great, fantastic wings. I certainly recommend it. And then for the next morning, after having a couple beers at Morty's, I'd really recommend, what's it called? There's that nice 50s diner in...
Mel's.
Mel's.
Yeah.
Mel's is a great 50s diner in Waterloo Plaza. Best hangover cure ever. So there's some nice French toast and milkshakes and pancakes there. They serve all-day breakfast, and nothing can beat that.
I think we know now what Alex's weekends typically look like, which is good. Ben, let us know. Best restaurant in Waterloo.
I just want to say Mel's milkshakes are the absolute best. If you go there for anything, get a milkshake. But overall, best restaurant, Jane Bond, Uptown. It's a vegetarian restaurant with some great selection of beer, and they have a great kind of 70s disco type feel, and they have some fun music at nights.
What would you order at Jane Bond?
Beer plus plus probably they have some good burritos and quesadillas, so one of those two are generally my go-to. but they have lots of great options. And then a close runner-up is Masala Bay, which is a fantastic Indian cuisine, also uptown. And they have a picture of, fun fact, Stephen Hawking, when he was in town, went there. They have a photo with him on their wall.
Really?
So,
Wow. I love you mentioned as well the vibe at Jane Bond. It really is kind of that 70s vibe. And right across from the original Princess Cinema, which of course is one of the original theaters in Waterloo, feels like you've been transported back in time. And I think around the corner from Pub on King.
Yeah.
Yep.
All on that same kind of strip. Excellent. Thank you so much. Let us know where you like to eat in Waterloo or even in Kitchener if you'd like by leaving us a comment on our Facebook page or even on YouTube. Let's go to our last topic, guys. Let's bring it home with Oprah Winfrey. We've all seen the famous speech of hers at the Cecil B. DeMille Award with the Golden Globes. Check it out. The link is in the description. I guess this has sort of kickstarted or re-kickstarted talks of her maybe becoming president, and she said it's not something she's entirely interested in. Let's start with the speech though. Ben, what do you think made that speech really noteworthy and really impactful?
Overall, fantastic speech, very charismatic and empowering. The one line where she said a new day is on the horizon was just like chilling. And I think I like the way that she didn't just say that, we're hopeful for a change. She said that there is a change and empowered the next generation, especially young girls, saying you are going to live in a different world where you don't have to say me too. And just like with absolute certainty that there is going to be a better and brighter future was just very, very inspiring and inspired hope in, I'd say, most of the audience that saw that.
Inspiring, yeah. Do you think, Charity, that it sounded presidential as a speech, as far as speeches go?
No. I think it's very counter government, especially the government that's in place right now. It's a little bit too liberal, I would say, to run for president, and I think it's, yeah.
Do you think maybe it's more of an activist
yeah, definitely.
type of speech?
More of a stick it to the man kind of thing.
Okay. And Alex, what do you think would be different about an Oprah Winfrey presidency as opposed to a Donald Trump presidency?
Well, I'd say the main difference would be that Oprah would be pushing left-wing policies while Donald Trump is pushing a combination of right-wing and nationalist policies. The irony of that, though, is that Donald Trump in 1999 actually said that if he were to run for president, he'd want Oprah Winfrey as his vice president. Times sure have changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Although I would say, one thing that it would be quite similar is the way they go about implementing those policies, that being quite incompetently, because neither of them have had the political experience that really is required to get policy passed and to get good policy passed, which we've seen the current president have a little bit of difficulty with. Any arguably good policy, for example, the tax cuts, has all been handled by Congress, whereas many of the mishaps in the past year have been directly from the office of the president. And I think under Oprah Winfrey, if she were to become president, it would be quite similar. Congress would have to take a much larger role in pushing policy.
So it's a good point about political experience. Ben, what do you think about celebrities generally getting involved in politics?
I think it's fine. I think Alex was right about it, that anybody should and can get involved in politics. That's great, but just having the status of a celebrity should not be able to just rocket you to a high-level position right away. You need to go through the system. You need to have experience. I want somebody running the country and making policies for me who have spent years and dedicated a large portion of their life to understanding issues and developing solutions and understanding how to make policy that's effective. So I just overall, bad idea unless they've gained some political experience.
Charity, celebrity politicians, good idea or bad idea?
I don't think it's a good idea. Elections are already like a huge popularity contest, and if it was celebrities included in that, that would just be so much more.
Right.
And I think people might hear what a celebrity says one time and say, oh, that's brilliant, I agree with that. Hopefully they'll implement that into their policies, but probably won't.
Right, which is maybe what's happened with this speech of Oprah's. Alex, last thoughts on celebrity politicians and whether they can run for president or any real high office?
For high office, I'd say it's generally a poor decision to vote in a celebrity president, because you really need to have people who spent their entire lives, as you pointed out, studying these issues that affect your country. What celebrities like Oprah could do, for example, that is a road into politics, is to run for something like senator or congressperson and to start making change at that level while gaining that experience. For example, Ronald Reagan was an actor in the 1950s, but he became much more politically involved in the 1960s, eventually became the governor of California, and then became president in 1980. And I think if any celebrity wanted to take that route, that's certainly a noble path to the presidency.
Okay, so we're pretty much against celebrities going right in and becoming politicians. Let's play a game, put all of that aside, and pick which celebrities we would put into the White House, maybe even for a day, if we could. Ben, your fantasy celebrity president.
So I guess this maybe stems from the fact that I am studying physics, but Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
I think he is. I think he represents a lot of the issues that I kind of take to heart, especially scientific literacy and scientific pursuits, as well as others. But maybe not for the long term. For a day, I'd support that.
He might be one of the most educated.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm okay with somebody who spent a long time learning and is eloquent and knows at least policies on a small aspect of what the government does.
Right. Alex, your fantasy political celebrity?
Well, when you start thinking of celebrities that like small government and traditional morality, that really whittles down the choices you have available. I think I'd say Tim Allen might make a decent president for a day.
Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Okay, Buzz Lightyear.
Voice of Buzz Lightyear, bringing
Improvements.
America to infinity and beyond.
Okay.
And he was also arrested for cocaine.
Well,
once.
There's the real White
Okay,
House. So
I might be having some second thoughts right
we'll
now.
get all the skeletons out of the closet on this show before he runs. Very good. Charity, your fantasy celebrity president.
Mine would be Emma Watson. I just really agree with the work that she's done with He4She and with the UN. And a lot of her talking is about the importance of education. I think education is so important for a democracy. So
That's a
definitely
great
her.
pick. Yeah, with He4She, and we'll put aside the requirement that she has to be born in America. It's a fantasy reality. If I had to pick one, let's give it to Beyonce. I mean, she's almost there. You know, it's not that big a step. She just has to release another album saying, "I'm running for president," and she's good. Awesome. I want to thank everyone on the panel here, Charity, Alex, and Ben, for talking through the issues with us. If you have some opinions, know that they're valid and you can comment. You can also get in touch with us if you want to be on the show, if there's a topic that you'd like to have us discuss. I'm Andrew Zettel. Remember that your opinion matters, and have a great week.